Glad you could join me. Welcome to the final culmination of a couple of years of study in the IDS program. This is my capstone project, and I'd like to talk to you a brief moment about it. It's titled Visualizing Bold's Member Sentiment, and I'll explain a little bit more about what Bold is and why the member sentiment is important. So Bold has a mission. It's the Black Organization of Leadership Development, and its goal is to improve and advance professional development for the employees at the company I'm currently working in. It's about leadership and providing career opportunities for all employees, particularly for those of African American heritage, uh, those people of color. It acts as a sounding board and a system to be um, in the pursuit of success for not only the individuals but for the company and the community. This independent group established and directed by voluntary efforts of employees and is open to everyone who's interested in being involved. So BOLD seeks to engage in three primary activities: education and mentoring, creating programs and opportunities for all employees at CME Group, but specifically, like I said, Black people to learn from senior executives and other leaders regarding career development, the business, and CME Group as a industry. It also provides a networking opportunities that will allow employees to be engaged with others in the company, but especially Black employees, to give them a sense of being and a sense of collegial experience in the financial services industry. And then finally, it acts as an advocacy and outreach. So we provide a voice for relevant issues and causes and participate in various activities and charitable events around the community and within the city in order to provide or give back to the community. So we think that's relatively important. So why am I looking at Bold? Because one of the things that I came into responsibility at the current company that I'm working is there was an opportunity for me to get involved in this process of helping people of color to advance. And particularly within the financial services industry, there is a problem in general when it comes to moving up the ladder of opportunity. And so I elected to take this role in this position so that I could support and drive the direction of the group. And what I discovered is that not everything is as simple as it would be or could be. Information, for instance, is not as easily available to members as it could be. And then just the overall communication between the leadership within the organization, within Bold, is not as transparent as it could be as well. And that's only because it's a very immature program. So the things that I'm trying to do now are trying to elevate that organization and elevate its processes so we can be better at what we do for and with our constituents or our members. So one of the things that I think is important to clearly understand what the problem is. The problem currently is that there's a difficulty for leadership to understand how its members perceive its performance in supporting their needs. Because information is collected in disparate forms and formats and stored in different containers, which might be a spreadsheet or it might be a paper-based form from an event. But the suggestion that I think is most important is that we find a means in order to analyze that information in a consistent and useful format. So one of the things that we're considering doing this project really deals with is how to remove that manual process and manual analysis and present findings in a easily consumable format. So how does this project do that? So this project does that by moving to a data-driven approach to understand user perception and 7 key behaviors and dynamically visualizing the information or that sentiment to improve awareness and decision making. When we talk about digitizing, we're talking about moving from a paper-based manual system and a spreadsheet-based system to where you're analyzing information on a regular basis, but you're doing it. Multiple people could be doing it different ways. So we want to find a consistent way of doing it, and we want it to be dynamic. So how do we do that? Well, one is we identified our audience, and so we can understand the context, and that would be our members. We need to find the story in the data, so we need a tool that will help us do that. We need to build that data into something that's more virtual, and to visualize it so that people can understand what it is, and then disseminate and share it and use it. So to provide an effective means to understand how data can be used to identify opportunities and address issues, and then improving processes in the day-to-day operations. That will be the end goal. So what's the benefit of data visualization? Well, it allows users to see different perspectives of the data. It makes it possible to interpret lots of large data sets. So we could have different projects going on, different events going on, collecting different types of data, and if we pull it into a container such as a database or to even a single spreadsheet, then we can interpret that data using one consistent process. And then we like to offer the ability to note exceptions. So when we identify issues, we want to be able to easily perceive those and share those with others. And then allow the users to analyze visual patterns. So just as one individual might be using a spreadsheet to do pivot tables and to create charts, we like to be able to present that information or present that data using one mechanism, and everybody can then interpret it based on what's presented to them. In this particular case, using Tableau, for instance, you can see that at the bottom of the diagram, there's the databases, the cubes, the spreadsheets. So these are different data sources. And that information gets pulled in through Tableau. It sources the data from those particular containers. And then it represents that data in a very visual format, either in a desktop or PC browser, tablet, and even your iPhone or your Android phone or other device. So who are our members? Let's talk a little bit about BOLD itself. This particular diagram, which was built with Tableau, is designed to show some different information about our members. And this is exactly what I'm talking about as far as representing information in a visual manner. So in this particular case, we're looking at our members and their years, and we can see that we have a different set of categories for time periods, from 1 year or 0.5 years up to 3 years. And we can see here clearly that there are more people in the 1 year category than any other category. But that's an easy way to see the membership years. We can also see that very same information, but with the ratios involved as well. So for instance, for individuals who fall in the 1 year mark, they represent 39 or almost 40% of the population of the members, which is a total of 20 members. And as you can see with the hover over, there's additional information that can be seen by simply moving your mouse over the diagram in these particular areas. In addition, we have some information about the breakdown of the demographics of the staff or the members. Like 54% are women, 45% are male, and of course give or take, and then you'll add up to 100, I'm sure. But the number of members at a different location, whether it be Chicago, New York, London, Belfast. So we are able to drill down a little bit further into the details of where our members reside. And that's important as well. So what's next? Understanding important behaviors expected by members. So the 7 key factors that I mentioned previously involved effectively articulating its purpose and mission, speaks to members' concerns even when it's unpopular, and keeps members informed of opportunities for engagement. Not only that, but effectively communicates using the appropriate medium, makes information readily available in best media for easy consumption, and works to create a diverse and inclusive environment, as well as providing a safe workplace to speak in confidence. And that's one of the key critical behaviors that our members have come to expect, that they can come and talk and let their thoughts be known with the confidence that we will do our best to speak to those issues and then maintain a degree of confidence. So let's look at briefly articulating purpose. Here again is a visualization of articulating the purpose. We have one, the member comment. Bold has done a wonderful job of fostering inclusion while acting as a professional network for employees. So it's important that we share exactly some of the details that came from the members themselves. But then in the data, we can also see that, for one, 82% of the members believe that we are articulating our purpose. Now that's a strong number. Our threshold is 70%, so as long as we're above 70%, we feel that we are in a good place as far as a member. And particularly since this is our first year, really taking a closer look at our performance. And further broken down on your left, you can see that we do get into the specific details of the favorability. So whether they strongly agree, somewhat agree, have no opinion, or somewhat disagree. We can see that for each year, except for year 0.75 years, 2 years, and 1 year, that we had at least one individual that somewhat disagreed about whether or not Bold did a good job of articulating his purpose. And you could think of that as being very minimal, almost negligible when it comes to the 82.35% that thought Bold was articulating his purpose in a very good way. You'll find the same to be true when we speak to Bold voices my concern. So does Bold speak the language of the individuals who we represent? Again, the threshold is 70%. We are above the 70% threshold. We like to see this improve, but it is what it is at this moment. The idea is, since we now have this ability to see deeper into the data, we can start to analyze what's going to be important to drive these numbers to the prospective degree that we would like. For instance, maybe it would be ideal to have 80% as a threshold and stick with the 80-20 rule, that 80% of our members represent the things that we think are important, and there are the 20% which we continue to work on to drive those numbers higher as well towards the 80, 85, 90%. The goal would, of course, be to get everyone out of the disagree category up into the agree category. And again, you can see that here on the left, there's a strong agreement as to Bold voicing my concerns. This again represents the same sort of visualization and the same sort of facts, right? Is that we're doing exceptionally well in this particular category where Bold keeps me informed. That's a very important marker, because communication is very important to keeping a knowledgeable body of members who will be available, readily available for different assignments and volunteer opportunities. And as we move on to adequate communication, is that communication adequate? Does it come in the right format, structure that is needed in order for people to get the message? And it appears as well that we've done quite well here with 84.31%. Again, the visualization indicates through color that we have different categories of response or different intensities of response. That's an easy marker for people to use in order to identify things that stand out. Again, here we have 16 of the 51 responses say that they're extremely satisfied with what's going on as far as adequate communication with members. Now here is something that's slightly different in the fact that it is below 70%. It's below our 70% threshold, and therefore we seek to definitely improve this. And that is makes information easily accessible. So because we have information in disparate forms, formats, system, it's very difficult for people to know where to go get information. So this is something that we can see that we need to work on. It's represented by not only the icon here, but also in the color and texture of this particular box that speaks briefly to what that 63% represents. Number 6, Bold makes a concerted effort to improve the culture. Now this is of course very important because this is the reason why we exist. And it looks like, again, there's some room for improvement here that we need to work on. We need to do a better job of improving our effort and letting the members know that we're working in a concerted way to improve the culture. There are several initiatives we currently have going, and what we expect is after some period of time, probably in the fall, we'll check these responses again and see if this is improved. And that would be an ideal way to identify whether or not our efforts are working. So this visualization, we make it easy to see from period to period as we're progressing over time. Finally, as far as the types of behaviors that we expect to improve on or to continue to do well in is providing a safe place to voice my concerns. Members need to feel that they can go to the board or to the Bold organization and have a confidential conversation, and that it will be held in confidence, and that their information will only be used to help drive the type of change that they desire, but done so in a way that they can feel comfortable coming to us and having these conversations. In this particular diagram, I show a slight representation difference by using a pie chart, and that's how dynamic the display can be. Is that you can change these diagrams up to things that, or to types of diagrams that you think are going to be easy for the user to consume. In this case, I use a pie chart. So what does that say? Okay, let's summarize this. The objective was to provide an opportunity or a way for users to get information in more consumable format, something that's visually appealing and easy to interpret. On the left, you can see the table of data that one would have to actually extrapolate ideas from in order to come up with solutions, or to analyze in order to drive solutions. And on the right, what we see is a very easy graphic that basically tells the user who's looking at it, the types of responses they're getting in response to a particular, in relationship to a particular question that might be asked. So it's very easy to interpret this versus individuals having to go through and do their own analysis in tables of data. So we said the benefits were to allow users to see different perspectives of the data. Again, I displayed that different charts and graphs throughout the presentation, and also the fact that those graphs and presentations were, those graphs and charts were dynamic, and that you could hover over them and get additional information. It makes it possible to interpret lots of large data sets. So Tableau doesn't care about how big the data is. The only thing that's necessary is the user has to design the visualization in a way that's going to be useful to the end user. And then, of course, it offers the ability to note exceptions. So as we saw in some of the outliers where the threshold was not met, then it was easily seen that there was an opportunity that needed to be looked at more closely and to drive towards a solution. Then finally, it allows the user to analyze visual patterns. Of course, that's the purpose of visualization, is it does show patterns, and given time, you could develop trends, or you can see trends in the data. And we hope that that's where we will go in the future. But thanks for your time. I appreciate it. I hope this has been helpful for you. I know that this project has been helpful for me, and I look forward to continuing to build this prototype out.